In my hometown, a woman who looks exactly the same appears once every 100 years. This woman lives to be exactly 100 before passing away peacefully. The townspeople call her the matron. The matron holds a special status in our town. In the Grand Founders Hall, there are 5 portraits of them, each adorned in the fashion of their era. The most recent portrait is a 17-inch black and white photograph taken in 1921. The girl in the photo is young and beautiful, with the blunt bangs and thick braids popular at the time. Her eyebrows are dark, her eyes large and clear. That particular matron passed away in 2001. On the day she died, a baby girl named Alara was born, becoming our town's new matron. I'm a year younger than Alara, and I grew up listening to the town's stories, so I had a natural sense of awe for her. From a young age, Alara was different from the other kids. She was a loner, always preferring her own company, and liked to sit and daydream on the high peak of the hill at the edge of town. The other kids were a little scared of her, but I was fearless. I'd follow her around like a shadow, calling her big sis whether she answered me or not. I was a sweet talker and persistent. And over time, Alara and I became close. I discovered that beneath her cold exterior, Alara was a gentle person. She was kind to the plants and animals in the forest and good to me, too. She'd often shoo away mosquitoes while I napped and pick fruit from branches I couldn't reach. I saw her as my sister and never thought much about the matron title. I didn't keep my distance from her just because of her role, like everyone else did. Our town was poor, with only one elementary school. The middle school was miles away in the next town, so any kid who went had to board there. Alara was not only gentle and pretty but also smart. She had her multiplication tables memorized perfectly. I just assumed she, like the rest of us, would finish elementary school and go on to middle school and beyond. But after elementary school, Alara dropped out. I couldn't believe it when I heard the news. I ran to find her and asked, "Alara, why aren't you going to school anymore?" She was sitting under the big oak tree at the town entrance, her head bowed. A lock of her long hair hid half her face, shrouded in the tree's shadow. She seemed gloomy and cold. "The town is too far," she answered. "I can't go that far." "What do you mean? Too far? It's just over a couple of hills," I protested, unhappy with her answer. Alara suddenly looked up, her dark eyes fixing on me. Her gaze was so deep and still, like the surface of a lake with an unknowable bottom. It filled me with a primal fear. A shiver shot up my spine, and the look in her eyes left me speechless. For the first time, I found Alara terrifying. For a long time after that, I had nightmares where monsters with Alara's face would chase me. I'd wake up trembling in my blankets, the memory of her gaze still vivid in my mind. From then on, just like the other townspeople, I started to avoid Alara, keeping a respectful distance. She never seemed to care, living her life as if the coming and going of others meant nothing to her. My dad was the most successful man in our town. He made a small fortune selling fruit in the city. Thanks to him, I became the only person from our town to leave the mountains and attend high school in a big city. My dad loved to show off, so he threw a huge party to celebrate. In a shocking turn of events, Alara came. She never attended these kinds of gatherings. You wouldn't see her at anyone's party. My dad felt honored and insisted I be a gracious host. It had been a while since I'd seen Alara. She looked more and more like the portraits in the Founders Hall. And the resemblance was startling. Our relationship had grown distant. And I reluctantly asked her to take a seat. As she sat, I noticed how poised she was. For a girl from a rural town, her posture and every move were surprisingly graceful. Like a lady from an old-world novel. The thought sent a chill down my spine. I sat with her stiffly, wishing my dad would hurry over and relieve me. But that day, my dad was busy drinking with the townspeople and was passed out drunk before he even made it past the second table. With no rescue in sight, I was stuck sitting with Alara. Thankfully, she didn't stay long. As she stood to leave, she suddenly leaned in close. Her waterfall of black hair cascaded down, and my vision went dark. As if a thick curtain had fallen over me. All I could see was Alara's face. Inches from mine. It was deathly pale. And her eyes were as deep and dark as an old well. It was horrifying. I almost jumped out of my chair. But she placed a hand on my shoulder, pinning me down. A faint, cold smile touched her lips. "Clara," she whispered. "Be sure to come back." My back went rigid. And a cold sweat broke out all over my body. I couldn't move for a long time. That night, the shock sent me into a sleepwalking episode. In my dream, Alara was chasing me, trying to drag me back to the town. I was terrified, running for my life. When the dream bled into reality, my dad said I burst through the door and bolted outside. He heard the crash and thought we had a burglar. When he looked, he just caught a glimpse of my shadow disappearing into the night. The sight scared him sober. He knew something was wrong and ran after me. It was pitch black. But I was running faster than a rabbit. He shouted my name. But I didn't hear him. He chased me all the way to the top of the hill and watched in horror as I jumped off the edge. My dad said that when he saw me leap, his legs gave out and he collapsed, feeling like his world had ended. What happened next? I asked him, wiping away tears. He said, "Do you have any idea what it was like for me? Crying as I scrambled down to the base of that cliff? Thank God Mrs. Chen had just been weeding and left a fresh haystack at the bottom. If not for that, I'd have been collecting your body." "On your way down," I interrupted. "Did you see anyone else? Anything at all? Anyone else?" There wasn't even a ghost out there. But I distinctly remembered seeing Alara. When I was on the brink of death, she fed me something. A deep, bone-chilling coldness spread through me. I couldn't be sure if I'd really seen her. After all, I had one foot in the grave. And my mind wasn't clear. Maybe it was just a dream. But so many things didn't add up. Why did I start sleepwalking? I'd never had that problem before. And even if I did, why would I jump off a cliff? While there was no concrete evidence linking Alara to any of it, her shadow loomed over everything. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been scared into a sleepwalking fit. The cliff I jumped from was the very one where she loved to sit and daydream. And though she shouldn't have been there after I jumped, it felt like she was. The more I thought about it, the more terrified I became, breaking out in a cold sweat. I developed a deep-seated fear of the town and of Alara. After I was discharged from the hospital, I didn't go back home. I went straight to the city with my dad. For the next 7 years, I never returned to the town. I finished high school in the city, got into college, and met my boyfriend. Liam. Liam was a city boy through and through and had never set foot in the countryside. When we were together, we'd sometimes talk about our childhoods. Without realizing it, I told him a lot about my town. The happy memories from childhood are hard to forget, even though my departure had been unpleasant. Years later, all I could recall were the good times. Liam became fascinated with the idea of rural life. On a whim, I thought, why not take him back during summer break? Let him experience authentic country living. I mentioned it to Liam, and he was all for it. After 7 years away, as I made the journey back, my initial excitement slowly gave way to a nervous apprehension. Liam noticed my sudden drop in mood and asked what was wrong. I thought for a moment and decided I should probably give him a heads up. I never told you this, but my town has this really strange thing. That piqued his interest. Oh yeah? Tell me about it. I gave him the short version of the matron legend. He seemed incredibly interested and asked a ton of questions. I told him everything I knew. It was strange. While other small towns had at least built new roads and seen some development over the years, my hometown hadn't changed at all. It was as if it had been completely forgotten by economic progress. My dad drove his old pickup truck to get me and Liam to the nearest town. We left the truck with a friend, and the three of us, loaded down with bags, hiked several miles until we finally set foot on the familiar dirt path. No matter how nervous or hesitant I had been before, walking on that familiar path filled me with a long-lost joy, and my spirits lifted. My grandparents were waiting for us under the big oak tree at the town entrance. Seeing their stooped, white-haired figures brought tears to my eyes. Our town rarely got visitors. In no time, neighbors gathered at my grandparents' house to see the novelty. Liam and I were the main attractions, handing out the snacks and candies we'd brought back. Many of my childhood friends now had kids of their own running around. A long line of little ones queued up to call me auntie. Having always been called sis, I felt a sudden surge of maternal affection. After we'd greeted all the friends and neighbors, Liam nudged me to take him to the Founders Hall to see the legendary matron portraits. I tried to talk him out of it. You won't be able to see them. The hall is usually kept locked by the town elder. It's only opened for ceremonies. But Liam was persistent. Well, we've got nothing else to do. Let's at least go look at the main gate. I think I finally understood where the people who always die first in horror movies come from. Art really does imitate life. On our way to the Founders Hall, we ran into Alara. I had seen the portraits of the matrons in the hall and knew they were beautiful. But I had underestimated the breathtaking impact of seeing that beauty in person. After all these years, Alara had fully grown into the matron's image. With her dark hair, almond-shaped eyes, and red lips, she was stunning. I always thought I was decent looking, but compared to her, I felt utterly plain. Liam stared at Alara, not even blinking. A familiar, faint smile played on her lips, the same smile that had haunted my childhood nightmares. My first instinct was to hide behind Liam, but a glance at his starstruck expression made me so angry that I forgot to be scared. "You're back," Alara said, greeting me first. I forced a laugh in response. Her gaze then shifted to Liam, and I couldn't tell if I was imagining it, but it seemed to linger on him for just a moment too long. Liam, for his part, gave her a casual hey. I was not happy with his reaction. Even after Alara had walked away, He was still craning his neck to watch her go. "So that's the matron, right?" he asked. "What was her name again?" "Elara." "Nice name." When he finally turned back to me, he found me with my hands on my hips, glaring at him. He just laughed, throwing an arm around my shoulder. "Come on. Let's go. To the hall. To see the portraits." "See my foot?" I snapped, kicking at his leg. I had expected Liam, having never experienced rural life, to struggle to adapt for the first couple of days. But to my surprise, he ate well, slept soundly, and seemed more at home than I was. It was the peak of summer, and the wild plum trees were heavy with fruit. I got him a straw hat, planning to give him the full fruit picker for a day experience. The wild plum trees grew tall, and I was happily using a long pole to knock down some plums when a pale, bloodless face suddenly appeared among the green leaves. The shock almost made me fall out of the tree. Elara was standing under the tree, though I hadn't seen her approach. Her dark, emotionless eyes shifted from me to Liam. "Do you want to go see the view from the peak?" she asked, speaking directly to Liam. "Clara and I used to love playing up there." Liam leaped down from the tree. "Sure." He agreed instantly, without even asking me. Elara led the way, with Liam following right behind her. I stomped along at the back, angrily kicking at pebbles. I remembered the first time I met Liam. I was wearing a new dress and walked past him. He glanced up, and his eyes just stopped on me. How could I describe his look back then? 1 second, his world was calm. And the next, seeing me sent ripples through it. It was love at first sight. People always say you can't trust love at first sight. If a man can fall for you at first sight, he can do the same with someone else. And why couldn't that someone else be Elara? A bitter feeling churned inside me. I followed them up to the peak. The view was incredible. From the spot where Elara always sat, you could see the entire town. Right now, Liam was standing there, stretching his arms and gazing out, a massive grin on his face. I kicked a pebble all the way to the top of the hill and was grinding it into the dirt when I heard Liam say, "From this angle, the town's layout looks like the character for Urn." He said it so casually, but Alara's head snapped up. I wasn't in the mood to care about any urns, but her strange reaction made me curious. I let the poor pebble go and walked toward the edge of the hill. Because of my old trauma, I didn't dare get too close. I stood back a ways and looked down, scanning the town from left to right. But I couldn't see it. "You're making stuff up," I said to Liam. He just chuckled, picked up a stick, and drew a character in the dirt. Not the modern character, the ancient one. I looked at the character he drew and then back at the town. He was right. The four-sided layout of our town, seen from above, really did form the shape of an urn. "You're a science major. What are you doing learning all these obscure characters? You've got to know a little bit of everything," Liam said shamelessly. "Never know when it might come in handy. Right? That right?" Wasn't directed at me, but at Elara. She looked a bit dazed but subconsciously nodded. A fire ignited in my chest. A cheating couple, flirting right in front of me. I have no idea how Liam and Elara got together. It only took a couple of days for rumors to start flying all over town. Even my dad heard about it and sat me down with a cup of tea, waiting for me. I had just woken up from my nap and came out of my room to find him looking at me with disapproval. "Where's your boyfriend?" he asked, his tone sharp. I was still groggy and didn't know what was going on. My dad took a hard swig of his tea and started laying into me out of frustration. "Sleep. Sleep. That's all you do. Your man has run off with someone else and you're still sleeping." If it wasn't for my dad's lecture, I would have never known that every afternoon while I napped, Liam was with Alara. The townspeople had seen them together many times. They weren't even trying to hide it. Sneaking around behind my back was one thing, but they were flaunting it all over town as if they wanted everyone to know. The green hat on my head was practically glowing. My dad couldn't stand to see me being treated this way and threatened to go give Liam a piece of his mind. I stopped him. "Don't get involved. He's my boyfriend. I'll handle this myself." Liam wasn't back from his rendezvous with Alara yet. I started packing my bags. I didn't have much, so it only took a few minutes. Just as I finished, Liam walked in. I threw his bag at him. "Let's go. We're leaving today." He caught the bag, used his foot to hook a small stool, and sat down. "I'm not leaving," he said. I flared up. "What's that supposed to mean? You've really fallen for her?" Liam, tall and long-legged, looked almost comical perched on the tiny stool. He rested his elbows on his knees, propped his chin on his hand, and just smiled at me. Seeing him like that just made me angrier. I pointed a finger at his nose. "Snap out of it. She might be pretty, but the two of you are not a good match." He nodded eagerly. "You're right. You're right." "Then what is this?" I demanded. "You're not seriously thinking of staying here by yourself, are you?" Liam put the bag on the floor and looked up at me, his expression serious. "I am." I was completely baffled. My voice went up 3 octaves. "Did she cast a spell on you or something?" He scratched his head. "No. Nothing like that. Don't be ridiculous." Liam and I hadn't been together for that long, but I knew him to some extent. He looked goofy, but he was a genuinely decent and upstanding person. He wasn't the type to mess around. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I was the one who brought Liam to this town. I couldn't just ignore the strange things happening to him. I don't know where I found the courage, but I decided to go find Alara myself. I went to her house first, but her mom said she'd gone up the mountain. I huffed and puffed my way up the trail and finally found Alara on the peak. She was, of course, sitting in her usual spot, looking at the view. I stopped about 6 feet behind her, sensing my presence. She turned to look at me, her eyes as calm and placid as still water. I felt a nervous knot tighten in my stomach. I leaned against a large rock behind me for support, mustered my courage, and stammered, "You, and my boyfriend, you too." When I mentioned Liam, Alara's expression became visibly eerie.